All right, welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk to you about Andre Petroski fighting Wellington Turman. This is a middleweight bout. Petroski is 8-1 overall, and I don't know his UFC record or whatever. It's like 3-0, I think. He's 3-0 in the UFC. Of course, he lost on the Ultimate Fighter, which is not part of his professional record, 8-1. But he's 3-0 in the UFC. And 8-1 as a professional. His one loss is to Aaron Jeffrey. It was a second round TKO in a fight that was a pretty wild war. And he just fatigued. He fell apart a little bit and was TKO'd with knees against the cage. And then his other loss, the Brian Battle loss on the Ultimate Fighter, was another one where he fell apart in round two and was submitted in that one. But Petroski, I remember him saying when he came into the UFC that he was happy to go 3 rounds against Michael Gilmore, even though Gilmore's not a great fighter, not UFC level anyway. But he was happy to go get it to the 3rd round to get a victory because he knew it made his coaches happy. So it shows that he was trying to correct his cardio early on and coming off the Ultimate Fighter, which wasn't that long ago. I don't know, it was like a year ago maybe. But it's good that it's been on his mind because when I look at him, I see that as his weakness. He's just one of those guys where I look to his traits and I say, all right, the next time this guy loses, I bet he's finished in round 2 or 3, deep into round 2, if not round 3. And, he is a big, strong guy. He's definitely the superior athlete. He's going to be better than a lot of fighters physically early on. I do think that's what helped him run over Nick Maximo. He submitted him with a Darce? No, that was an Anaconda, I believe. I don't fucking know. But, I just watched it, too. He submitted him very early on in round 1. And before that, though, he had 2 third-round victories. 1 submission, 1 TKO, both on the ground, against Michael Gilmore and Hu Yaozhang. 2 guys that don't belong in the UFC. And, of course, the other guy he beat, Nick Maximov, even though I think he does belong in the UFC, he was cut. So he was cut off that loss to Jacob Malkoun. But Wellington Turman, despite being 5 years younger, he's much more experienced than Petroski. He's got over twice, 2.5 times his experience. He's got a record of 18-5. He's primarily a jiu-jitsu artist. That's why he's got 8 submissions, 6 decisions, and 4 TKOs. And of his 5 losses, he's got 2 knockouts. Not TKOs, but knockouts to Bruno Silva and Andrew Sanchez inside the octagon. And, it doesn't bode well for him that he's been knocked out, but those are 2 harder strikers, especially Bruno. Much more of a knockout artist, so there's not that much shame in it, but still, I do wonder about his chin. Of course, those were 2 knockouts in round 1, which I do think, even though Petroski is more of a grappler than a striker, I think he punches much harder, and he's with his distinct athletic advantage. I think round 1 knockout for Petroski is very likely here. Or, likely. I shouldn't say very likely, but it's likely. Probably shouldn't even say likely, but it's worth betting on. That's what I mean. Wellington Turman, he's probably not going to be submitted. Again, his submission record in MMA is 8-0. He wins the submission battle. But Petroski is a monster on top. I do think a guy like Wellington Turman's probably good enough to tame Petroski on the ground. Always, especially slow him down after round 1, really tame him there. And then he won't be one of those guys giving up a round 3 submission. I think if he gave up any submission, it would have to be early, like where Maximov lost. But I don't expect that here. I think Petrovski's path to victory is either decision or TKO, and really knockout, not TKO. Although, a prolonged beating is always possible. But Turman, he's got to make Petroski work, and he's got to look to take advantage in rounds 2 and 3. I think he's got to really hurt Petroski. That's something Aaron Jeffrey did, making him pay in the small moments, beating him up when he's looking to rest, and that could just be throwing elbows from his back if Petroski's that dominant wrestling-wise. And he's got to get him tired, tame the superior athlete, and get him out of there in rounds 2 and 3, which I don't know if it'd be more likely to be a submission or TKO, depending on, obviously Turman's more of a submission artist, but I really think Petroski's weaknesses will dictate how that goes. Not that I'm predicting it. I'm predicting Petroski gets a knockout. I think it happens in round 1. And I've placed a few bets on this. I've bet on round 1 Petroski knockout plus 500. Again, that's just a matter of Turman's chin falling to Petroski's power and athleticism. And I've also bet on the under 1.5 rounds, which I consider largely a bet on Petroski, but that's plus 110. I put that in a parlay or two. And I sprinkled on Wellington Turman winning via round 2 and round 3 at plus 1,000 and plus 1,200. Those are my bets, but my primary bet is the under and Petroski winning by knockout round 1. That's what I think will happen, and we'll see. But I'm kind of rooting for Wellington Turman to tame Petroski here. I think it would be awesome. And I know a guy with an 18-5 record, if you don't knock him out, he's comfortable enough to survive. And a survivor's got a great chance against Petroski deep into a fight, I think. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.